Okay, so Ruvain goes out on page 154. I want to finish Parshas Vayeitzei today. Tomorrow we'll start with Vayishlach. I wanted to start today, but I missed yesterday. So we're on Parshas Vayishlach. On Perik Lamed Pasuk Yud Daled and page 154. So it says Vayelech Ruvain we make 4 lines from the bottom. Vayelech Ruvain we make tzir chitim vayimtza dudoim basada. He finds these dudoim. Vayavei osam Leia imo. He brings it to Leia. Vatomer Rachel Leia Dina libi dudoi benech. Bottom line. Let me have some of those dudoim. Vatomer lo. So Leia said to her, Amat kachtech es ishi v'lekach gam es dudoi beni. It's not enough. You took my husband. You also have to take the dudoim. So Yaakov will go to your tent tonight instead of mine. Now, the first thing we spoke about, remember we spoke about how Leia could turn on Rachel like that because of Rachel, how subtle Rachel was in handing over. But I saw one of the Farshim says, what Leia was really saying to her was, you don't need the dudoim. The dudoim are some sort of fertility pill. And Leia was saying it's enough that you have the husband. You don't need the dudoim. And what I said, she seems to be saying is, there's a concept called hishtadlus. Hishtadlus means how much effort you have to make. And Leia was saying to Rachel that you don't need to take these dudoim. Page 154. But you don't need to take these dudoim because you already have the husband. He's by you most often. And therefore, you at your level, it's over hishtadlus. How do you like that? That a person could, how much effort do you have to make in any area? How much effort do you have to make for Parnasa? How much? We have to make an effort. Now, what is the effort? It depends on each person's level of faith. A guy nowadays, the Rambam says that everybody has to work for Parnasa. You have to work 3 hours a day and learn Torah 9 hours a day, assuming you're up for 12 hours. The Rambam said 3 hours a day. Find me a job today that you could work 3 hours. Right? Most people, if they would try to work, if a guy's a lawyer, he says, well, I'm going to do the Rambam work. He himself doesn't believe that that's going to work. In other words, your hishtadlus is really relative to who you are as a person. If you believe that you have to work 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day, whatever the society says, and you try to work less, it doesn't. You can't psych out God. If you're a person who really believes, like Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, who was the Gadol Hador in Eretz Yisrael in the 1920s, and Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld's wife once said to him, we don't have any food in the house. He said, okay. And he walked outside the house. He started looking on the street. And after 10 minutes, he saw 2 gold Napoleons, 2 gold coins on the street. And that was his parnasa for on the side. There he found 2 gold coins. That was his parnasa for a month, right? And then he was upset. Why was he upset? Why did it take 10 minutes? He should have been on the level where you open the front door and there it is. You understand? So it depends on each person. If one of us would walk the streets looking down, I say, what are you doing, Leor? Well, I'm making hishtadlus for Parnasa, so we'd put you in the happy home. That doesn't work, right? But Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld at his level, so it's relative. So Rachel Ibeinu is on such a high level, you don't have to go this far. That's what Leia is saying to her, well, you have the husband already. You don't need the fertility pills, because ultimately, it really depends on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay? So look what Leia does. Vayavo. Maybe somebody could close the door. Somebody's being tortured. That's what happens. That's what we do to people who don't put on tefillin. He's in the change your mind about tefillin room right now. So you're going to be from or not? Yeah, you're going to speak Aramaic? No. Oh yes, you are. No. Yeah, yes, you are. Okay, okay. Inami. Okay, there you go. Kaboom. Ishtamute. Yeah, I'll give you an ishtamute. Yeah. Okay. Vayavo Yaakov bin Asada ba'erev Vayeitzei Leia likraso. V'tomer Eli tovo ki tzachor scharticha b'dudoi b'ni. Leia comes out the green and says, okay, you're going to come to my tent tonight because I hired you. Vayishkav ima balaylahu. So the what do you call it? You know, this whole thing is it seems a little bit forward on Leia's part. You know, so Leia, she goes out to greet the husband. Hey, you're coming to my house because I paid for your services tonight. That doesn't seem to make sense. So the Mefarshim say and Leia is credited for this. Leia gets credit for this, and she gets pregnant and has a son Yisachar, who becomes the tribe that studies Torah. So the Mefarshim explain over here that Leia, the same way Rachel was concerned for Leia's dignity, Leia was concerned for Rachel's dignity. Because what happens if Yaakov comes in, his main home, there were 4 tents. His main tent was Rachel's tent. Now what happens if he comes into the house, he goes into Rachel's tent, then he's got to be called out of there. That becomes a humiliation for Rachel. So Leia goes out to head Yaakov off at the pass in order to spare Rachel the humiliation of him, Yaakov having to be called out of the room. So the what do you call it? So Leia goes out and she greets him, and then what happens? Vayishma Elokim el Leia. God hears Leia. That means they were always davening. They were always davening for more children, because that's the ultimate accomplishment for a woman. And somebody asked yesterday, Shlomo Yitzchak had asked whether or not they knew that they were going to be producing the Jewish people. So it's actually brought down in the Moreh Nevuchim by the Rambam that they did. The mothers knew through prophecy, whether, again, I don't know what level of prophecy, but they knew through prophecy that they are building the Jewish people. So Leia goes out, Hashem listens to Leia, Vatar Vatela de Yaakov ben Chamishi. Now look at his name. Vatomer Leia, Nosan Hashem Schori. Hashem has given my reward, Asher Nasati Shivchasi Leishi, because I had given my maidservant to my husband, Vatikra Shemo Yisachar. Yisachar. Now, if you break down the word Yisachar, so first of all, in Hebrew it's pronounced as Yisachar. And there are 2 shins. So there's a silent shin over here. Why? Why is there a silent shin named Yisachar? Nobody's called. There are some people pronounce it as Yisachar, but that's not the correct pronunciation. Our tradition is it's pronounced as Yisachar. There's a second shin. The second shin is silent. Why is the shin silent? Why is the shin silent? The second one, Yisachar. So Rashi says, what do you call it?
It's the silent shin.
Huh?
It's the silent shin.
Why? Why is there a silent shin?
Telling you
To not show
Why?
that you got a reward.
Oh, you're very close. You're very close. So the one of the Mefarshim says there's several reasons. One of them is because we don't want to see that it was a reward for the whole thing was a little indiscreet over here, that she has to go out and she paid for him and so on and so forth. But one of the Mefarshim says because this is the tribe that studied Torah. And the reward for studying Torah we only find out about in the world to come. The reward is so hidden that it's yesh, because the word, it breaks into 2 words, yesh, sachar. Yisachar breaks into there is reward. But the reward for the people who study Torah, because it's the biggest mitzvah, the most potent mitzvah, that reward is to a certain extent hidden in the world to come, that nobody knows the reward for Talmidei Chachamim in the world to come, the reward for studying Torah, and therefore we pronounce it as yesh, yisachar, as opposed to yisaschar, that the hidden shin. That's what the Mefarshim say. Okay? Now, take a look. This is, now, she has another son, and then it says she has a daughter. Pasuk Chafal. V'achar yolda bas vatikra es shema Dina. She had a daughter, and this daughter was named Dina. Now, the Gemara says that Leia, the word Dina comes from din. Right? Dina makes it from din, Pasuk Chaf Aleph. And din means she made a judgment. And Leia understood, she knew there were going to be 12 tribes. And Leia thought to herself, look, I have 6. Each one of the maidservants has 2. If I have a 7th, that means my sister Rachel was only going to have 1 and she's going to be less than the maidservant. So she davened that the child that she conceived should become a girl. And we learn a halacha over here. It's very interesting halacha. The Gemara Bracha says like this. First of all, what happens to Dina later, by the way? What happens to Dina later? She's captured by Shechem. She's violated by Shechem, next week's Parsha. It says, Vayeitzei Dina, she went out. She went out. Normally, a girl stays in the house. Kol kvuda bas melech pnima, she stays in the house of Bas Yisrael. There are commentaries, the Al Sheikh HaKodesh says, that tendency to go out of the house, to go out, was because she was actually conceived as a male. And she changed in the womb, she changed into a female because Leia davened. Now, we have a halacha. The halacha is that when a woman conceives, a husband could daven for the gender of the child, and a woman conceives, generally meaning to daven for a boy, up till 40 days after conception. After 40 days after conception, it's not. It's what's called a false tefillah, because it's a fait accompli. It's already determined. The gender is determined. You could daven for the health of a child the entire time, the entire duration that a woman is pregnant. You could daven for the health of a child. You could daven up till the time the child gives birth, the woman gives birth, that the child should be healthy. Not only that, there is an approach. Now you have to be, I'm very careful before I say this, because if you do get medical opinions, you have to do what the doctors say. However, there are certain tests that they do which don't have any real bearing. For example, they may do some sort of genetic testing where even if something is unfortunate, there's nothing you can do about it surgically or medically, and you can't have a miscarriage. Again, all this requires a consultation with rabbanim and doctors, but assuming they do a medical test and there's nothing you can do about it, then it's better not to know the results. Better not to do the test and not to do the results, because if there's nothing you can do about it, once you know the results, then it requires an open miracle, and God doesn't do that so quickly. Whereas if you don't know anything, so up to the last minute things could change, because what's going on. So if we dive into the last minute that the baby should be healthy, let's say the baby chas v'shalom is not healthy, but we don't know about it. There could be some sort of problem inside and that we don't know about it. You can still dive into the last minute, because the more you dive in, there's a chance for something to happen. Once it becomes open or exposed that we know what it is, what the problem is, then it requires a more open miracle, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't do so quickly. So the Gemara says, what about Leia? Leia davened that her child should change. So one opinion is, well, it was before 40 days. The other opinion of the Gemara is, don't bring proof for miracles. This is a miraculous occurrence over here that Leia davened for the child. But don't bring any proof for this, for what we do nowadays. Therefore, we're allowed to daven up till 40 days, as much as it can be calculated. So 40 days after conception, one can daven for the gender of the child, because it's not determined. After 40 days, it's already a fait accompli. Whatever it is, you can no longer daven that it should be a boy or a girl, whichever one that you happen to want. Now, then, here is something absolutely stunning. Vayizkor Elokim es Rachel. Hashem remembers Rachel. Vayishma Eleh Elokim vayiftach es Rachma. Hashem hears her prayers and he opens her womb. Take a look at Rashi on Chaf Beis. Vayizkor Elokim es Rachel. What does he remember? It's the right column, 4 lines from the bottom, page 156. What did Hashem remember? Zachar la, everybody see that? Shemasra simanela achosa. He remembered that she gave the simanim to her sister. So, how many years earlier was that? 14 years. 14 years earlier. That means Rachel did a chesed 14 years earlier. Now, let's say Rachel wouldn't have done it. So what would have happened? Rachel would have got married. She would have married Yaakov. And what would have happened? She'd be barren. And she doesn't have a merit to have children. As a result of that chesed, 14 years later, HaKadosh Baruch Hu opens up her womb. Why did he open her womb and give her children? Because of what she did 14 years earlier. So sometimes in life, a person does a chesed, and you don't know when this is going to come back to come back to haunt you. Haunt in a good way. You know, you do a chesed. There's a pasuk that says, "Shlach lachmecha alabayim." Cast your bread out over the waters. Kibarov yamim tim seda. In the course of time, you're going to find it's going to come washing back to you. When a person does something for somebody, you don't know when there's going to be a rebound that's going to come back. You don't know when it's going to come back. I want to tell you something. There was a story circulating in Israel. This was a few years ago. There was a story circulating in Israel. There was a traffic accident, and somebody was badly injured. A 20-year-old kid was badly injured in this traffic accident. A soldier on the way to his base happened to pass by, He picked up this kid from the traffic accident, and he took him. He was in a Jeep or something, whatever it was, a soldier on his way to base, drove him straight to the hospital, and they did what he called they operated on whatever it was, and the doctor told the parents that he got in here a few minutes later, he wouldn't have made it. And Baruch Hashem, they saved his life. And then the parents were looking for the soldier. Once the guy was in the hospital, the soldier turned around and he left. The soldier left. So the parents had a store. They had a little makolet. The parents of this guy who was saved. They had a makolet, and they really wanted to meet this soldier so they could thank him. So what they did is they put a sign up in their makolet. They said, if anybody knows on a certain date a soldier who came by and saved our son's life, please let us know. We'd like to meet him. One day, a woman walks in. About a year and a half later, a woman walks into the makolet and she sees the sign. She goes, "Oh, I think that might have been my son." So she said, "Why?" She said, "Yeah, he was. What was the date? August 3rd. Yeah, he was on his way back to the base, and he told me that he was on the way back to the base. There was an accident, and he took somebody to the hospital. Let me check." And she calls up her son, and sure enough, it was him. And the wife says, "Well, thank you very much." So this lady says to her, "I just want to tell you something. This is not the first time we met." "Really? I don't remember you." She says, "Yeah, can I speak to you in the back room?" So they go into the back of the store, and she says to her, the mother of the soldier, she says to the lady, the mother, she says, about 20 years ago, I was expecting, and I came into your store, and I was really depressed, and I was expecting, and finances were tough, I was going to have an abortion. And the two of us were speaking, and you convinced me about, how precious a child is and not to have the abortion, everything's going to work out. And I didn't have the abortion, and I gave birth to the child. The child I gave birth to was the soldier who saved your son's life. Right? So there's a concept, shlach lach mechal pnei bayim. You do the chesed, one way or another, a chesed has a way of coming back to you. Right? That was one story. There's another documented story. Yeah, go ahead.
So the mom of the soldier, she came into the...
She had come in 20 years earlier wanting to have an abortion, and the lady talked her out of it.
Into the moms of the son who was in the car crash.
Right. And she talked her out of it. That was the first story. The second story was the guy who was in the Italian. He was a German soldier. He was a German soldier, and what had happened was, one second. He was a German in the German army, and they had captured a group of Italian soldiers. It was World War I. And the German commander said to take them out to the forest and kill them. And this guy, there's a Jewish soldier, and he said, "No, we're not going to shoot them in cold blood. We took them as prisoners, they can't be prisoners of war." And eventually he said, "Listen, we're just not going to do that." And he convinced the commander not to do it. Okay. Sometime later, about 15, 20 years later, he moved to America, to Chicago of all places. Moved to Chicago. We're in the 20s. He moved to Chicago in the 20s. And he worked as a window manufacturer. And as a window manufacturer, he drove around. He had a wagon, a horse and wagon. And he walked around. He goes one day there's a factory, and he goes past this factory, and there's a bunch of glass that's been discarded outside the factory. There's a fire in the factory. You could tell there was fire. It was all black and sooted. There's a fire, and there's broken glass outside. And so he starts gathering this glass to put it on his wagon because he can make use of it. He's a window maker, he knows how to recycle it. And after he finishes gathering the glass, he goes into this building and he turns on a faucet to wash off his hands, and out comes beer instead of water. Yeah, Chicago's a special place, So beer on tap, right? The beer comes out and it turned out that this was during the time of Prohibition, where they were bootlegging, making beer illegally. And one of the ways they hid the bootleg beer was they put it through the faucets in this building. This was a mafia headquarters where they were manufacturing beer, and it was coming out. And he turns around, and there are two guys standing behind him, and they grab him. They say, "Listen, buddy, you just saw our operation. This is not a good thing." And they take him to the boss. And the boss is upstairs smoking a cigar in a fancy office, and Big Tuna, whatever his name, Johnny Big Tuna. There was a guy named Johnny Big Tuna Accardo. That was his name. I said, the big boss over there. They take him in, and they say, "What should we do with this guy?" He says, "Listen, he knows the operation. we're going to have to do away with him. So the guy starts pleading, and he hears a German accent. He says, "You're from Germany?" He says, "Yeah, what's your background?" So he starts talking about his background. He says, "I was a soldier in World War I." He says, "Yeah, what happened when you're a soldier?" And somehow he gets to the story that he was responsible for saving this platoon of Italian soldiers. And the guy says, "Well, I was one of those soldiers, right? You saved my life, so we're going to let you off the hook, right? But you're not going to tell nobody about this, right? No. Pabst Blue Ribbon beer, my favorite. Absolutely not. So what goes around comes around. That's the rule. What goes around comes around. Shlomo Yitzchak, it's a shame. I answered your other question today too. It's twice in 3 days that you ask good questions. You don't have to be sorry, but for $20, I'll tell it to you again. In any event, I just told them that the Rambam says in Nevuchim that the mothers did know that they were going to be building the tribes, the Jewish people, which is what you had asked yesterday. Okay. Now, so that's number one. You see over here that what goes around comes around. Then she has a son. Now look what Rachel does. She does something very peculiar. Vatar v'teled ben, v'tomer asaf Elokim es cherposi. God has taken away my shame. And Rashi says something very amusing here, right? It's the left column of Rashi, third line. The first thing Rashi says is, Cherposi she'isi lecherpa sheni akora. I was embarrassed because I was barren. V'hayu omrim alai she'ala lechalko shel Rasha. I was barren, which for a married woman is a certain form of embarrassment when she's barren. We even say in Nachem, on Tisha B'Av, we say that Yerushalayim Yerushalayim is in ruins like a barren woman who's hanging her head in shame. Umedrash and that there were rumors that Esav was going to marry me. Umedrash Agada, watch this, guys. Kol zman she'ein leisha ben, when a woman doesn't have a child, ein ba lemilicho sirchona. When she messes up, she has nobody to blame. Husband comes home and says, "Hey, who had the last slice of pizza?" And, so when she's got a son in us, she says, "Well, it was Yankee." She's got somebody to blame. But if there's no son around, husband comes in, "Hey, who had the last beer?" Guilty as charged. You can't. Mishiyesh la ben tolabo. When she has a son, she just if she's in trouble, she just blames her kids. Hey, who broke the glass over? Who broke the beer mug? Oh, it was Shlomi. It was Bela. Mi shavar klizeh, bincha, your son. Mi ochal te'enim, hey, wait, the figs. Bincha, your son. Whatever happens, now she's got somebody to blame. She shift the blame to somebody else. I have a different reading of Rashi. I think that what the wife does, because this only works if the kid is older. It works if the kid is older, but all the wife's got to do is, the husband comes in, "Hey, who broke the glass? Your son did something so cute today." To switch the subject. Just talk about the son. "Oh, yeah, that's my boy." That's my boy. You should see what he did to his sister today. Really? No kidding. Yeah, he glued her to the wall. Yeah, that's my boy. So it could be. That's not to blame me, but that's whatever it is. And then what does she do? She says, "Vatikra Shemo Yosef." She names him Yosef. Lemor Yosef Hashem li ben acher. Hashem should give me another son. Isn't that strange? She's been davening for a child. She has a child. It's like I say, "Hey, can I have a slice of pizza, please? Come on, you got a whole pie over there. Can I have a slice of pizza?" So you give me, I say, "Good, can I have another one?" You think that's a little strange? She's been davening for a child. Finally, "Can I borrow $5? Can I have $5? Yeah, here's $5. Yeah, can I have another $5? All right? It seems a little bizarre. She's davening for this. What does she name him? Yosef. I want another one. What happened to gratitude? Leia names her son Yehuda, the fourth son Yehuda. Thank you, Hashem. I would have called this son, called this child, what do you call it? Shevach vehodoya. Praise, something. Yosef, I want another son. So I heard an interesting explanation. Rav Lev, he explained, what is it? We ever been to a siyum? Somebody finishes a masechta. What do you do? What do they do at a siyum? A siyum. When they finish a celebration, when you finish a tractate of the Gemara, like the Daf Yomi. All right, so they finish a what did you say?
They read the last part and they eat them.
They what?
They read the last part.
They read the last part and then what?
They read.
And they eat. Yeah, well, Jews, So yeah, the eating is for sure there. Well, what is when they read the last part and then they say Kaddish? What does it say in the Kaddish? That I should merit to finish more Masechtas. Why are we asking for more Masechtas? We're asking for more Masechtas, right? I just finished this, so why don't you say thank you? The answer is because we understand. Nobody has that problem by Gemara. If I finish the Masechta, I say, please Hashem, help me to finish more Masechtas. Nobody says I'm an ingrate. Because you understand that I finished one Masechta of Shas, and I realize that there's a certain ruchni, a spiritual gain from doing that, and I'm asking Hashem for more spirituality, for more ruchnias. That we have no problem with. Rachel has a child because that's her way of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is her ruchnias. She has a child and she's saying, not that, hey, thanks for one slice, I'll take another one. She's saying, thank you for the child, which is my contribution to the Jewish people for my own ruchnias. This is how I achieve my potential. Please, I want more. No different than finishing a Masechta of Shas. Why didn't she name him Masechta? That's a good question, right? But so she calls him Yosef that she should add on another child. Okay. And now we go on ahead. Yaakov is ready to leave. And I'm going to tell you, we're never supposed to say that we like one part of Torah more than another, but I will tell you what is possibly my favorite vort in the entire Torah. Right? And it's stunning. In Perek Lamed Pasuk Chav Ches, first of all, this isn't it. This is also something I like very much. 158, second line from the bottom. Second line from the top, sorry. Yaakov is ready to go. And Yaakov comes to Lavan, and he says to Lavan, listen, Yaakov says, it's time for me to go, and I want to make some parnasa. Vayomer love Lavan. Imna matzasi chen beinecha, if I find favor in your eyes, nichashti vayevaracheni Hashem bigolecha. Lavan says, I sense that Hashem has blessed me because of you. What does Yaakov come over? Yaakov says, I want to work. I want to start earning some more. And Lavan says, I sense Hashem has blessed you. Isn't that an interesting role reversal? Yaakov is all of a sudden the one talking about working. And Lavan is the man of faith. Ooh, I sense Hashem has blessed you. Right? Interesting switch of positions over here. Right? It's supposed to be the other way around. So, what's happening here is, what would your reaction be? A guy comes into the room, he's down and out. The guy needs a donation. The guy says, listen, I lost the market is done. I don't have a parnasa. I lost my job. And the first guy says to him, don't worry, Hashem will help. The second guy doesn't say a word. He takes out a checkbook and writes him out a nice check. Right? Who's the man of faith? Who's got, wow, you can talk the talk, but you're writing the checks. Right? Yaakov Avinu say, of course I know Hashem gives everything, but I have to make my shtadlos. I need a chance to work. I want to earn. Lavan says to him, oh, it's Hashem, the great man of faith. The great man of faith, as if we're going to deflect over here. It's not. Then Lavan says to him, Vayomar nokva schorcha alai v'teina. Let's set a price. Tell me your price. Set a price. What is the word nakva? If it read differently, what is nakva? Nikeva. Nikeva is what? A female. Nikeva is a female. Nikeva is a female. When Bilam says to Balak, I can't curse the Jewish people, what does he say? Ma ekov lo kova kel. I can't curse them if God hasn't cursed them. Ma ekov lo kova kel. Nikeva, ekov, same root. Curse. Zachar is male. What's the numerical value of Zachar? 227. Same gematria as Zayin, Chaf, Resh, 227. Same gematria as Bracha, blessing. Beis, Resh, 202. Chaf, 25, 227. Both are 227. So Nekeva carries with it some connection to curse. And Zachar carries with it some connection to bracha. Now, what does that mean? What that means is that both are on the extreme. Neither is inherently a good or a bad. And that's why you need both together to get married in order to create the counterbalance. A man is a bracha. A bracha is a spring, an overflowing spring. Men always have grand plans. What does Lavan say to Yaakov? We're not going to leave this open-ended over here. It's not going to be like, well, we'll work on a commission, that sort of thing. Nakva schor chalai. Set a price. What is a nekeva? A woman, what does a woman do? The woman is the one who says, let's take what we've got and let's invest, let's develop it. Let's nurture it. Let's keep it under control. Men are all over the place. That's right. I told you, man is always ready to take a second mortgage, pawn two or three of the kids, right, and go for the big one, right? And it goes for the big one, and then somehow the FBI gets involved, right? So don't go for the big one. Just go to work. The wife is, we're not going to do that. We're not taking a mortgage. We're not pawning all of the children just now, and we are going to. You're going to go get up tomorrow, Harold, and go to work, right? That's what you're going to do. Yeah, but I've been working this job for a long time. Yeah, you've been there for 2 weeks, I agree, but you're going to just continue. Men are always ready to switch. You're ready to switch the day you got there, you're already ready to switch. Your other guy, I need to be promoted. I've been here 2 days, I need to be the vice president. Men are restless. It's an overflowing river. True or not true? It's an overflowing brecha, it's overflowing spring, and that's why you need. The other is also not an inherent, because it could be too extreme. Everything has to be, you need that balance. You need the balance of energy versus the balance of control. That's the balance. Lavan says, set your price. Because a woman always, let's set it. Let's keep it over here. That's why women are able to get pregnant and to have a baby for 9 months, because they're into the nurturing, developing, that sort of thing. Communication, is that the big word? Communication. I ever tell you the best 2 weeks of my life? I told you, the best 2 weeks of life by far. Nothing compares. My older brother had his first kid. He was living in Israel. My mother left Chicago to go help them out for 2 weeks. The instant she walked out the door, it was just my dad, me, and my younger brother. She walked out the door. The TV came onto the kitchen table. Sports Illustrated, Sporting News, the Sporting, we looked like the ESPN newsroom, right? For 2 weeks, we didn't say a word to each other than potatoes, meat, and we traded. That was it, and it was, and we didn't even look at each other. It was just reading, watching. Give me some of that. You give me some of that. Like almost like cavemen. That was it. And then Mom came home. Okay, let's communicate. That was that was a good 2 weeks. So the what do you call it? That's the nature of it. That's why you need the counterbalance. Neither one alone functions. You need the balance and the counterbalance. Okay. Now watch this. So Lavan, he says to Lavan, name your price, and Yaakov works out this deal with the sheep. You could go into it with the commentaries. We don't have time for that now. But then watch what happens. And this is stunning. This is absolutely stunning. On page 160, Yaakov makes a lot of money. He develops these sheep, and after he develops these sheep, he sells them, and now he's got a lot of servants and maidservants, and Lavan's children are not happy, and Lavan's not happy. So it says like this, right in the middle of 160. Vayishma es divrei b'nei Lavan, vayleibor lokach Yaakov es kol asher lavinu. He hears Lavan's son saying, Yaakov has taken everything that belonged to our father. Umei asher lavinu asa es kol hakavod. What from? He made this all off of our father's back. Yaakov sees Lavan's face. It's not like it was in the past. And obviously, when he came there, Lavan was all smiles, and now Lavan's got a scowl on his face. And then he gets a communication, and he makes his plans to go home. Time to leave. So I heard a vort many, many, many years ago from Reb Shlomo Twersky in Denver. The plain meaning is that Yaakov took a look at Lavan, and he sees that Lavan was happy when he originally saw him. Now he doesn't, he's picking up bad vibes. What's the word they use now? Toxic, right? He's turned toxic. New word. He's turned toxic. So Yaakov decides it's time to go. He says the pshat is, when Yaakov arrived originally, 20 years earlier, he takes one look at Lavan, and he sees this guy is a no-good, low-life scoundrel. 20 years later, he sees Lavan's face doesn't look the way it used to. Doesn't look so bad. Uh-oh. If Lavan doesn't look so bad, who's changed? Lavan hasn't changed. Lavan hasn't. He's not been learning Musar for 20 years. If Lavan doesn't look so bad, then it's time for, then I really got to go. Then it's time to go. Now, I don't think literally this applies to Yaakov Avinu, but it certainly applies to us. Didn't it ever happen to you in life that at some point you said, I would never do that, I would never snort that, I would never smoke that, I would never be involved in that, I would never, and then one day we find we are. Well, what changed? The objective reality didn't change. If it was no good then, it's no good now. For most things. It could be certain things change at different stages in life. But something that's illegal or something that's inappropriate, and you say, I would never, and then one day you are, so what changed? At that point, it's time to go. That's the life. And that, I find, is so applicable in all people, everybody's life. There's something like that, like, well, I promised myself I would never wear something like that or dress that way or do something like that. Now I am doing it. So what changed? The point that I realized something changed. And what changed? It wasn't it was me. Then I could do something about it. But I got to be able to see it for what it is. So Yaakov sees Lavan's face. The face doesn't look like it used to. Time to go. All right, gentlemen, we're going to stop here.